Imagine a place where every single one of your needs is met and you never have to work a day in your life. It sounds like a dream world, but for one group of residents, it actually turned into a total living nightmare. In the late 1960s, a scientist named John Calhoun decided to build a perfect world for mice to see what would happen. He called it Universe 25, and it was designed to be a paradise with no predators and unlimited food. What happened next was so disturbing that scientists today are actually banned from ever trying to repeat the experiment. Instead of a thriving society, the mice created a world of violence and weird behavior that led to their total extinction. In this video, we are going to look at why this perfect world failed and why it still scares researchers 50 years later. John Calhoun was not just some random guy playing with pets in his basement during his free time. He was a highly respected researcher working for the National Institute of Mental Health in a big lab. During the middle of the 20th century, everyone was absolutely terrified that the human population was growing too fast. People were worried that we would run out of space and food, and that society would just fall apart from the pressure. Calhoun wanted to see if those fears were real by using mice as a stand-in for human beings. He figured that if he gave them everything they needed, he could study how they handled living in a crowded space. To do this, he built a massive metal enclosure that was about 8 feet wide and 8 feet long. The walls were high enough that no mouse could ever jump out, and the floor was kept perfectly clean and warm. Inside this square tank, he built 16 separate apartments that were connected by a series of tunnels and ramps. Each apartment had its own food hopper and its own water bottle that was constantly refilled by the researchers. There was enough food and water to support over 3,000 mice at the same time without anyone going hungry. Calhoun even made sure the temperature was always perfect so the mice would never be too cold or too hot. He started the experiment with 4 pairs of very healthy and very happy mice that were chosen for their genetics. These 8 mice were like the Adam and Eve of this tiny metal world, and they had no idea what was coming. For the first 100 days, everything went exactly how you might expect a mouse paradise to go for them. The mice spent their time exploring the apartments and eating as much delicious corn and wheat as they wanted. They started having babies very quickly because there was nothing else to do and no reason to worry about safety. This was known as the Strive period because the mice were working hard to establish their little mouse kingdom. During this time, the population was doubling roughly every 55 days, which is an incredibly fast rate of growth. The apartments started to fill up, and the sounds of tiny squeaks filled the lab 24 hours a day. By day 300, there were more than 600 mice living inside the walls of Universe 25. Even though there was plenty of food, the mice started to gather in certain areas while leaving others totally empty. This was the first sign that something was going wrong in the social structure of their tiny world. Mice are very social creatures, but they also need a little bit of personal space to feel normal and healthy. Because there were so many mice in the common areas, they were constantly bumping into each other every few seconds. Imagine trying to live in a crowded elevator for the rest of your life, even if someone was handing you free pizza. The mice started to get stressed out because they could never just sit quietly and relax without being touched. The older males who used to protect their territory started to lose their minds because they were tired of fighting. They stopped defending their nests and just sat in the middle of the floor looking totally defeated and sad. This led to a total breakdown of the traditional family units that mice usually form in the wild. The females had to step up and defend the nests themselves, which made them much more aggressive than they usually are. Sometimes this aggression was even directed at their own babies because the mothers were so stressed and overwhelmed. Young mice were being kicked out of the nest before they were ready to survive on their own in the world. These rejected young mice grew up without learning how to interact with others or how to be a normal mouse. They didn't know how to fight or how to mate or even how to groom themselves properly like their parents did. Calhoun called this state the behavioral sink because all normal social behaviors were just spiraling down a drain. As the population climbed toward 2,000 mice, the atmosphere inside the tank became incredibly dark and violent. Random acts of violence became common where mice would just attack each other for no reason at all. Some mice became cannibals even though there was a huge pile of fresh food just a few inches away from them. They weren't eating each other because they were hungry, but because they had lost their minds from the crowding. While the violence was happening, another, even weirder group of mice began to emerge in the population. Calhoun called these mice the beautiful ones because they were physically perfect and had no scars from fighting. These males never fought, and they never tried to mate with the females or even interact with anyone else. They spent their entire day just eating and sleeping and grooming their fur to keep it looking shiny and clean. They had completely checked out of society and lived as if no one else even existed in the world with them. The beautiful ones were like ghosts moving through a crowded room because they didn't care about anything at all. Because no one was mating anymore, the birth rate started to drop until it eventually hit 0%. The mice had reached a point where they were still physically alive, but they were socially dead inside. By day 600, the last baby was born, and the population began a slow and steady decline toward zero. The mice were surrounded by plenty of food and water, but they simply had no desire to keep living or growing. They had lost the ability to be mice, and they didn't know how to fix the broken society they had created. Even when the population dropped back down to a low number, the survivors didn't start having babies again. They had been so traumatized by the crowding that their brains were permanently rewired in a very bad way. The experiment finally ended when the very last mouse died, and the lights in Universe 25 went dark forever. This experiment sent shockwaves through the scientific community and the general public when the results were published. People looked at the beautiful ones and the random violence and saw a dark reflection of our own human cities. Calhoun warned that if humans didn't find a way to manage our social space, we might end up just like the mice. He argued that when all our physical needs are met, we need social roles and a sense of purpose to survive. Without a reason to strive or a job to do, the mice simply lost the will to exist as a species. This is a big part of why modern ethics boards would never allow a study like this to happen today. The amount of psychological suffering the mice went through is considered way too high for any scientific gain. The experiment was essentially a form of psychological torture that lasted for years until everyone was dead. Researchers now have much stricter rules about how animals can be treated in a laboratory setting. We are no longer allowed to just watch a colony destroy itself without stepping in to help or stop it. There is also a lot of debate about whether we can actually compare mice in a tank to humans in a city. Humans have the ability to build upward and create new ways of interacting that mice simply cannot imagine. We can use technology to stay connected, and we have complex cultures that help us manage living near each other. However, the warning from Universe 25 still hangs over us like a dark cloud whenever we think about the future. It makes us wonder if there is a limit to how many people can live together before things start to break. Is it possible to have too much of a good thing where life becomes so easy that it becomes meaningless? Calhoun's work suggests that we need challenges and social duties to keep our brains working the right way. If you take away all the struggle, you might accidentally take away the very thing that makes life worth living. Some people think the beautiful ones are a metaphor for people who hide away in the digital world today. They see similarities between the mice who only cared about grooming and people who only care about social media. While that might be a bit of a stretch, it shows how much this experiment still captures our imagination. It is a story about the end of the world that happened inside a metal box in a quiet laboratory in Maryland. The fact that it was banned means we might never get a definitive answer to the questions it raised. We have to look at the data Calhoun left behind and try to learn from the mistakes of the mouse Utopia. The experiment showed that social death happens long before the body actually stops breathing. If a society loses its ability to connect and care for the next generation, it is already on its way out. The mice had a world with no hunger and no cold, but they didn't have a world with any hope or future. They were trapped in a cycle of stress that they couldn't escape, even though the doors were never locked. It is a haunting reminder that our environment shapes who we are in ways we don't always understand. Even the most perfect-looking world can become a prison if the social rules are completely broken. The legacy of Universe 25 lives on in urban planning and sociology, even if the experiment itself is gone. Architects use the findings to design buildings that give people enough privacy to feel safe and relaxed. Sociologists look at the behavioral sink to understand how high-density living affects our mental health. We are still trying to figure out how to build a world that is safe, but also full of meaning and purpose. The mice couldn't solve that puzzle, but maybe we have a better chance because we can talk to each other. We can look at the empty apartments of Universe 25 and decide to choose a different path for ourselves. It is a dark story, but it is one that we need to keep telling so we don't repeat the same mistakes. Science is about exploring the unknown, but sometimes the things we find are truly terrifying to see. Universe 25 was a window into a dark future that we are all working very hard to avoid right now. The mice didn't have a choice in their experiment, but we have the power to shape our own society. We can make sure that our world isn't just a place where we eat and sleep, but a place where we belong. The experiment was banned for a reason, but the lessons it taught us are still free for anyone to learn. It reminds us that being healthy is about more than just having a full stomach and a warm bed to sleep in. We need each other, and we need a reason to wake up in the morning and face the day with a goal. The mice lost their goals, and then they lost their lives in the most tragic way possible. Let's make sure we keep our goals and our connections strong so we never end up like the beautiful ones. Every time you walk through a crowded city, remember the mice and the metal tank they lived in. Remember that we are all in this together and that our social world is just as important as the physical one. The story of the mouse Utopia is a warning that will stay with us for as long as we live in groups. It is a story of a dream that turned into a nightmare because it forgot what it means to be alive. If we want to avoid the behavioral sink, we have to keep building a world that values more than just survival. We need creativity and love and struggle to keep our species moving forward into the future. The mice had everything they wanted, but they didn't have anything that they truly needed to stay healthy. That is the true mystery of Universe 25 and why it remains the most famous experiment that will never happen again. It is a ghost story for scientists and a cautionary tale for everyone else living in the modern world. We have to be careful about what we wish for because a perfect world might be the most dangerous thing of all. As we look at our own growing population, we have to remember the mice who stopped having babies in paradise. We have to find the balance between being together and having the space we need to grow as individuals. The experiment might be banned, but its voice is still loud and clear for anyone who is willing to listen. It tells us that we are more than just consumers who need food and a place to sit. We are social animals who need a community and a sense of belonging to truly thrive. The beautiful ones were the saddest part of the whole story because they gave up on everyone else. Don't let yourself become a beautiful one in your own life by checking out and ignoring the world around you. Stay engaged and stay active and keep trying to make your corner of the world a little bit better for everyone. The mice didn't have the tools to fix their world, but we have the power of communication and empathy. Use those tools every day to make sure our society stays healthy and vibrant for a long time. The ban on Universe 25 is a sign of how far we have come in our understanding of ethics and compassion. We now know that we have a responsibility to protect the mental well-being of the creatures we study. That is a step in the right direction and a sign that we are learning from our past mistakes. The legacy of John Calhoun is complicated, but it is an important part of scientific history that we should know. He showed us a path that leads to nowhere, and now it is up to us to find a better one. If you want to see another crazy science story, check out this video right here.